Hey all, Hipper here and welcome to the channel where today we are talking about Starfield and I'm gonna give you 5 reasons why you should not play this game. Because Bethesda have managed to turn what should be really interesting, outer space, into something that's actually quite boring. Now, I've played a lot of other space games, and really everything in Starfield that takes place in space is quite disappointing and a little bit boring, actually. The space flight in the game kind of lacks any sort of, exploration, and the exploration that is there is the same over and over. I mean, you might get hailed by a ship, but that's about it. Sure, there are a few asteroid fields, but there's really no reason to, fiddle around with the asteroids because it's not really worth the the trouble. And while the combat is there, it's pretty much just about pointing and shooting, so fairly disappointing. Another problem is the fast travel system that takes pretty much all the fun out of space travel, because really all you do in the system is that you click somewhere you want to go, then you got a very boring load screen, and once the load screen finishes, then you just pop up in the spot that you selected. So it kind of destroys the whole aspect of space travel and, feeling like you're going somewhere new. All you're getting is a landing animation, and even that gets pretty stale after a while. And once that finishes, you step out in whatever spot you picked, and it's just not good enough. Many games have done much better than this, and it's quite disappointing. So that's the first reason. The second reason is the bullet spongy enemies in Starfield. Now, this is not a Starfield problem as such. It was the same thing in Skyrim and Oblivion and Fallout, especially when you're lower level. It can take 1 or 2 clips to dispose of an enemy, and although it gets better once you get higher levels, get more powerful weapons, but the enemies also gain levels and it never really disappears. And I don't know, it's one of my big bugbears with games is when someone like this is standing in a t-shirt and it takes 7 or 8 shots to actually take them down. I know it's not a realistic game, but it's still something that's a little bit out of hand in Starfield, and it does kind of make the game very frustrating, at least for me. Now, in this example here, I'm just raiding a camp of, random civilians who aren't actually very good, and they're a lot lower level than I am, and still, it's not like a one-shot affair or anything like that, and it gets old pretty quickly, I think, especially if you're someone like me who doesn't really enjoy the, gun aspect of Starfield that much. I'm much more into the exploration, and then when I'm forced into these gunfights here that, well, let's just say they're not very good. I mean, the AI is not very good, and the gunplay itself is, like I said, pretty disappointing. So it's definitely a weak side, and the second reason why you should not play Starfield. So I already touched upon the third reason here, but I really have to mention the fact that load times in Starfield are just absolutely unacceptable. Sometimes you have to wait more than a minute, and back in the Skyrim days or the Fallout days on the older generation of consoles, that would be not acceptable, but I mean, you'd have to live with it. But these days, we have both Xbox and PlayStation 5 have been equipped with solid state drives, SSDs, that give us lightning fast loading speeds, and yet Starfield manages to completely wipe that technological advancement out. In fact, sometimes the load times are just comically long and drawn out, and it's not, a specific Starfield problem, but Starfield just makes this problem very bad. I mean, I've never seen this long load times on any modern game on the new consoles. It's especially jarring if you look back at something like No Man's Sky, where the whole game happens without a single load screen. I know they are different games. I know there's a lot more going on in Starfield, but it's no excuse anyway. I mean, Bethesda is an expert developer. They've done games for 30 years now, and I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's not bad coding or anything because it's the way the game is set up, but I think the game's initial structure was set up back in the day with non-SSDs, and Bethesda just stuck with it. And it's probably a product of the decade-long development time. But in any case, it's not a good look, and it really is a bad point of the game. So that is the next reason that you shouldn't play Starfield. Alright, so the fourth reason you shouldn't play Starfield is the sometimes very disappointing environments and graphics. Like, especially here where I'm looking at the cliff face. That looks like something out of a Quake game from 20 years ago. It's really bad, I think, and I don't know how no one really points these things out. It just pulls me straight out of the immersion. Some environments are also obviously rushed and lack any sort of detail, for example this room here, but there's many of them. And also the reuse of assets I think is really bad. Even big like buildings on different planets look exactly the same as the same building on an entirely different planet. You don't really notice it in the beginning, but after a few hours it gets really jarring, and it's really something that I think Bethesda should have thought a little bit more about. So the fifth reason not to play Starfield is the complete lack of maps. And it might not sound like much, but after you've tried running around on a PlayStation chasing that little blue marker telling you have to go up, you have to go down, there's something in here and it's 37 steps away, but you have no idea how to get there. And like I said, it may not sound like a lot, but all the time you spend in weird space stations, like procedurally generated environments in this game here, it gets really annoying really quickly. And frankly, it's one of the main reasons that I don't play this game here, because I just don't think that enough thought has been put into this aspect. And again, it's a sign of lazy development, I think. Look at the game like Dead Space, where you click the right stick and it tells you exactly where to go. There's no reason they couldn't have spent, a few months of the 10 years they've been developing this game to implement something like that. So that was 5 reasons not to play Starfield, but actually I have one more reason. Let's call it a bonus reason. And that is the really, really annoying oxygen measure and the exhaustion you get from running everywhere. And you have to run a lot of places in Starfield. When you land your spaceship on a planet, you have to run for about a minute no matter what you want to do to go anywhere. And once you want to leave that place, you got to run to somewhere else as well. And of course you can make this less of a problem by investing in some skills, but it never really goes away, and it's always annoying, and it's really something that I think should be left in the past. So these were my 5, actually 6 reasons not to play Starfield. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you don't agree, and I'll see you out there.